Hey guys, what's going on? How we doing? Welcome to the Food Fight Club. Charlie here. How we doing? Hope you guys are all well. Had a really nice week this week. My son and his girlfriend came down to visit us, and yeah, we had a great time. It's been a while since we saw him. We went up last year in October, towards the end of October, because he graduated from an academy. I'm not going to go into too many details, but went up there to see him and support him, and yeah, it's been a nice week. We did a couple of things and went out to eat together and celebrated my wife's birthday with him, and actually we celebrated my daughter's birthday too, but her birthday is in a couple more days. So yeah, I'm a little bit like low energy because I was out of my routine this week, but yeah, it's been nice. It's been nice. Yeah, but we text back and forth like almost every day, and we have FaceTime and stuff like that. So it's not really like when I moved away to Florida, and you know my mom guilted me to call her like every Sunday to check in and talk and whatnot. Nowadays it's different. Back then it was more of a standard, I guess, to check in every week. I don't know, maybe it was just I was under the spell. Sometimes I would not call and I would get the guilt, like, oh, why don't you call me? What are you doing? And I don't want to do that to my son. So, but it's different. He's different. We're all different now. I have some notes to, look down on, but, we give my son more space, and he's doing great. He's doing amazing. I don't want to say a lot better than I thought he would, because I'm not undercutting him. He was, a really good kid and everything, so he's doing really good. And, we went out to eat a lot. Going out to eat is kind of like a challenge for me, but not so much anymore. But I have to watch out because sometimes I fall into a trap like I did Thursday night. Wanted to discuss it a little bit. Like I said before in other videos, sometimes we just overeat. It just happens, we just have a bad day, a bad night, or whatever. And, we went to this Mexican joint in town, and, they put the homemade tortilla chips in front of you with the salsa and guacamole and cheese dip, and you start eating those and it's like crack, and just kind of ate those for appetizers. We didn't really have any appetizers. We ordered dinners, and like I was so like in my head, and like dinner came, and I couldn't slow down. I don't know like what snapped, but it was it was just like a weird type of experience, or I haven't had this type of experience in a while. Let me see what I wrote down here. I mean, maybe I was just too hungry. I got into that primal hunger, which is like when you get past the point of hunger, it's like you're just so hungry you can't stop. You just eat like a dinosaur. But I lost that battle. That was a battle I lost. Thursday night was like conscious, but I couldn't stop, and I haven't had experienced that feeling in a long time. And it's like watching yourself from outside, and I was like observing, but not being able to control or stop myself. Now, I didn't eat 3 dinners. I didn't, like whatever. It was just a normal dinner. Maybe I was a little full from lunch. Like another thing that I try and think about is, when we say honor your hunger in intuitive eating, it's because, relearning how you feel when you're hungry is important, because if you don't know you're hungry before you eat, then how will you know when you're full? if you start eating and you're not really hungry, you're already off the whole, I don't know the word to say, but the system is already interrupted. So I think maybe that might have been it too. I was just, we don't go out to eat a lot. So, I normally get a little, what do you call it, excited or whatever when we go out to eat. But, the tortillas were like my mortal enemy that night. So we ate, and I was able to stop with like a couple of bites on my plate, but the damage was done. And it was, it was bad when I got home and everything hit. I was so full, like, you probably know the feeling, like I could barely like move, and I would take like little sips of water, and like my stomach would just get upset because I was so full. So, I did have flashes of thinking about I might throw up, not make myself, but there was like that little instance here and there where it was like, oh my God, like I feel like I'm gonna throw up. And it was bad. And I don't know, maybe it was just knowing that he was leaving in a day, or it probably was just emotionally like, I don't know. I really don't. But I wanted to come here and be honest about it because that's what I'm all about. And I've been having this thought about myself and how my eating impulses, or how I feel about eating. And when you had that natural connection interrupted when you're really young, I think I don't know if it ever comes back to be natural. I just feel there's like a sadness in me because I really don't know when I don't know how to put it. Like sometimes when I have a week where I've or more than a week, whatever, a good, month or whatever, where I'm able to monitor my eating and be conscious of it, and, kind of know when to stop, know when to start, know when, pay attention to my hunger and my satiety. And, I feel like, proud of myself or whatever. I'm more satisfied with my behavior and my thinking. And then some weeks I'll have weeks where like I'll eat more and I don't feel much different, or I kind of feel better than when I'm, monitoring my eating behavior. And I'm not sure if that's like a metabolism thing, like, because I know my metabolism's like broken down. I just don't, I don't think my body processes food like as quickly and easily, and I don't think I get the same amount of energy or whatever from it. But sometimes when I eat more, I feel like, yeah, I know for a fact it does stoke your metabolism. So I don't know, I wrote this down and I said, what's funny is when I think I'm eating normal, I'm not sure if I'm eating enough. And when I'm eating what I think is a lot, maybe it's the right amount, but I just think it's a lot, But, in these times, like, and maybe I feel like I gain weight too easily. So on those weeks where I think I'm eating too much, maybe I feel more bloated. But I don't know if that's like a normal feeling, I wrote this down. I don't have a true internal knowing. Like I said before, like that was broken a long, long time ago. And I know I have interoception, but that true sense of interoception, which occurs when eating patterns are not disrupted as a child, have, I feel, been stripped. And I'm not sure yet if I'll ever have that natural sense of what was when I was, what was when I was like 3, 4, or 5, before my mother started restricting my diet. So I guess what I'm trying to say there is, like, I know I have the interoception with the internal feeling of, when I'm hungry and full and how I feel inside. But I don't know if it'll ever be normal like it was before my mother started putting me on restrictive diets, because that connection, I feel like, is broke. It's gone. And I don't know if any amount of intuitive eating or whatever you want to say will bring it back. I think that is something that, sadly may just be a battle for me the rest of my life. I think back to the video on the Minnesota starvation experiment, and the men who took part in the experiment had problems the rest of their lives, and they were in their 20s when they did this experiment, and they were perfectly normal physically, psychologically. They were good subjects for the study. And those guys had problems the rest of their life. So, I don't mean to take any kind of like hope away from anyone watching this, but the fact of the matter is, if you were put on restrictive diets from when you were a young kid like me, 5, 6 years old, along with everything else that I personally went through, and I say this all the time, I minimize what I went through, but I know there was, factors in there that, on top of the restrictive diet, that, and the scapegoating that was my family, that I was the scapegoat for, plus all the other factors of the emotional neglect or the neglectful behaviors of my parents, the anger of my father when he was young, and all that other stuff has a lot to do with how I feel today. So once again, I'm not a victim. This is all about learning about what made you you, or how you were treated when you were younger, realizing if you're older now, if you're 18 or older, and you can, come from that point of knowing that maybe you had some kind of challenges in high school, not high school, but when you were younger and in school, then it's really kind of up to you to, grow enough and help heal yourself, help heal yourself, to look into, things that can help you. I don't know what your specific thing or problem might be, but there's all kinds of, help out there, literature, books, videos. For me, it's the scapegoating. The scapegoating was, the medium by which my mom pigeonholed me and, projected her food issues on me to help make me the scapegoat and make me the center of the problems in the family or whatever. And, if you've had that similar experience, then yeah, you need to look into the family scapegoat system, or, if you've just solely had these diet-based issues or weight-based issues, then I think, the intuitive eating is a good start. because that's where I started. And little by little, the scapegoating thing kept coming up, and I learned this and I found out that, and like it all kind of added up. And I always say, like, the pieces of the puzzle just really came together. And even, like, I don't know if it was last week's video or 2-3 weeks ago, I realized, like, that because my mom had a problem with my father when they were younger because he was heavy, and I think that she projected that onto me, and she didn't want me to be heavy because she knew that she felt unattracted or repelled by him and his weight, and she didn't want maybe girls to feel like that about me, which was noble, but she didn't realize she was doing that to me by putting me on restrictive diets, because they don't work. Eventually you just rebound, you gain weight, your metabolism slows down, you gain more weight, and then you go through the whole roller coaster cycle again. So just some things to think about, some issues to think about. If if you feel like you need to talk it out with somebody, I'm here. I always put the link to my calendar in the description of the video. And if this video helped you out at all, take these off. Please do me a huge favor and like and subscribe, and maybe share the video with someone, or comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. I have to start posting my shorts again because my son was here, so I ran them through the middle of the week, and I haven't done it in a couple of days. Excuse me. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching. I thank you. I have gratitude for you guys watching, and just do the best you can. There's plenty of help out there, and I'm willing to start with you. Give some help, and be an ear for you. And that's it, really, basically. So remember, guys, compliance gets rewarded, but rebellion is its own reward. All right, it feels good to get outside the matrix and break that spell, and work on yourself to reconstruct your life. All right, so on that note, I will say goodbye and see you in the next video. Thanks a lot. Take care.